Hi everyone, nice to meet you. And today is about academic test writing, and I pose these two questions. Have you ever been stunned by an exam question and you do not know what to do? Have you ever experienced nail biting to indicate anxiety when the deadline or the clock is ticking? Well, this is cumbersome, and no one wants these feelings, especially when you're unable to gather your thoughts and put them in an academic way. Writing an academic text can at times be frustrating when the relevant precautions are not taken into consideration. But when approached in the right way and scrupulously dealt with and with the needed preparation, then academic tests can be rewarding, enjoyable, and ultimately satisfying. So what I intend to do today is just to take you through some of the preparations or maybe general guidelines that will be relevant to you as you try to approach exam questions or general assignments. So now let's begin with how to answer the question posed in the exams. And here I will just give general guidelines. They are not exclusive, meaning that's not the only way to go by, but I believe this would be beneficial moving forward. So the first is to be prepared before the exam. And the second is now read the instructions very carefully as you face the exam question. And then the third one is now begin to structure. I call this the roadmap. And then the fourth one is positioning your argument. And this is where you use the concepts, the theories, and literature that you've read. The fifth one is know the difference between critical discussion and descriptive argumentation. We would focus more on the critical aspect. And then the sixth one is know the importance of referring to the sources that you use in answering the question. So basically, these are the six that I would like to talk about, and I would explain them into details shortly. Now let's look at the six points that I mentioned and put them into perspective. So the first is to be prepared, and this requires that you have read enough with regards to the subject of which you will be examined. Often we do not have prior knowledge about the questions, so it becomes very pertinent that we find time to go through our lesson notes and other relevant books, literature, or articles. Being prepared allays a lot of fears and anxiousness. So that's just about being prepared. And the second is to read instructions carefully. Do this even if you think you understand the question. Reading instructions make it easier to understand the exam questions. It also helps you to formulate or construct your answer or answers very well. So the third is the structure. I call this the roadmap because it helps you to put your ideas in the right place and also guides you to know what, where, and how to approach the question. For instance, if the question is an essay type, then you have to think about what goes into the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. Equally, if the question demands a straight answer, then you have to be direct with your answers. Also, if the question demands an open answer, then you may have to provide an extensive answering or answer that requires you to argue or discuss. Now let's look at the fourth point, which is positioning your argument or answer. This is often about the conceptual or theoretical approach that you take, and it entails the claim or claims you will make about the exam question. It is important to ensure that you clearly understand the question. For instance, are you being asked to provide an answer based on a specific or particular conceptual position, or you are given the free will to choose a concept that you think is appropriate to answer the question at hand. Well, in positioning your answer, ensure that the key conceptual terms are well explained and understood. Additionally, you need to know that there is no perfect way of writing. However, you can tackle the question through ideas you have gained or formed from literature. But particularly, you have to do this with concepts and theories if need be. The fifth is to know the difference between critical discussion and descriptive argumentation. Often, what is expected when providing answers to exam questions is to be constructively critical and not descriptive. Being descriptive is just like giving an overview or describing an incident without giving details of what caused the incident in the first place. Also, being descriptive sometimes offers a shallow explanation. We will therefore need to focus more on the critical discussion when providing answers to exam questions. Critical discussion entails appreciating the merits and demerits of the answer you would like to provide to the exam question. From the previous point of positioning your argument, critical discussion will also be important to weigh the advantages and disadvantages of the relevant concepts and approach to answering the exam question. Nonetheless, being critical is not to be overly negative in your approach to answering exam questions. That is, avoid dwelling on the demeriting parts of a theory to answer your question. Also, do not critique for critiquing's sake. Finally, avoid the reproduction of other people's critique when answering the question. For instance, memorizing a literature and literally using it verbatim to answer an exam question is not rewarding, as this may attract bad grades. Rather, engage the question by forming ideas around a particular literature or a concept of your choice, and then answer the question in the best way you deem appropriate. So the sixth and final part is to always reference the sources you use in answering the exam question. Note that you are not obliged to provide references if there is none or there are none. But it is both academically and ethically fitting to make references when needed. On that note, I want to thank you. I hope this is beneficial. Usually, I follow these steps when there is a question at hand. And I hope this would also help you along the way as you answer exam questions. Thank you.